Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and joining me, my host companion, it's Sejohn Sarowick. How you doing, Sejohn?
I am doing just fine as I yawn into the microphone. Hello, everybody.
Sejohn sent me right as we were about to record. I am winding slow this morning. I do not know what that meant. Why?
That was Discord. That was Discord and Google getting together to really kind of fuck me on the emoji, on the auto emoji. I hate that. I don't want to speak in freaking glyphs.
Oh, what language eventually will be replaced by pictures or something or other. So how you been, Siege? I guess, but before we go much further, happy Mother's Day. Being a show that records almost exclusively on Sundays, we always find ourselves recording on Mother's Day, and I feel a little bit guilty every time, but I make sure to do stuff with Mom to make up for the 2 hours or so that I'm in the studio on the Sunday. But you, I mean, you don't. What did you do for your mom so far? Did you call her?
I did. First of all, no, because it's 9 a.m. here. I will give her a call after we record.
Okay, good. That's
and then we can. And then on top of that, make sure to send stuff throughout the week just in advance. Make sure that I'm not completely whiffing it. But just dumb stuff. Mother's Day and Father's Day are weird holidays, especially once you get older, right? Because like when you're a kid, there's the added benefit of schools often putting you in a position to make stuff for them for Mother's Day or Father's Day, right? Like I remember when I was a kid putting together like little crafty things in elementary school for my mom for Mother's Day, and that was so then you're pretty much covered in that regard, right? And then you hit a certain point where like you feel like you do need to still be doing something, right? But you're a kid and you're not necessarily somebody in a position to be doling out a lot of money financially, even if you do have a job of your own, right? So it's not like you can do much in terms of like dinners or things like that. And now I've hit a point in my life where, if I was there and available, I would certainly spend all the money in the world on my mom, but that's just not where we're at, right? Like, I don't know. Do some people out there go like a whole hog for Mother's Day?
I mean, I don't know. I think that we did pretty good this year for Mother's Day, I'll be honest with you. She has been coveting our Raycon open ear headphones. Though they like go over your ear, they're like hooks. They're beautiful.
Okay.
I don't think they're doing well because getting a pair of Raycon over the ear headphones for my mother was a task that was like gargantuan and Herculean. If Hercules were still alive, he would have 13 labors, not 12. And the 13th labor would be locate a pair of Raycon open ear headphones. I feel at this point I need to pause and say, Raycon does not sponsor us. I know they sponsor a bunch of content creators, and I've said it enough times that a person could be like understandably mistaken and think that this is a sponsored segment. Nope. I'm just complaining about how difficult it was to find my mother the Mother's Day gift I like knew she wanted.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Is like I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad son, but there's like it's not like there's like a specific thing that like I want to make sure I get for her for Mother's Day this year, right? I did send her things. I sent her like a goofy ass mug and some stuff for the garden that she's been working in, but like nothing like specific, right? There's not like that. Like that would be something more like akin to like a birthday or a Christmas present from me, right? I would make that extra effort, go the extra mile to find something. I don't know. Maybe my family just was never big on the whole like Father's Day thing to begin with. Like, we would go over and have like breakfast with all the moms and stuff at Bickford's when I was growing up too. That was the other thing is that like there was always a lot more moms around to do that sort of thing.
You ruin the show every time you bring up Bickford's. I love Bickford's and I miss it every day. And now I'm going to be missing it during this entire recording season. But yeah,
I never realized how weird that restaurant truly was with the smoking side versus non-smoking side, and it being literally basically like two different restaurants.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time, Bickford's. I'll be honest with you, and I guess you're right. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Mother's Day and Father's Day are completely made up holidays, right? There's no like religious backing of it. It is when people talk about this store was created by the stores to help them make money. I think about the Simpsons episode. I feel like I say this every year during at least Mother's Day or Father's Day or just graduation season. But the mom-dad grad gift corridor is a real thing that department stores used to consider. And like reindeer games, right? Machete there, Danny Trejo has that great line of like, Christmas makes so much money, it's surprising that we don't have another one in the summer months. But we kind of do in terms of Mother's Day, Father's Day, and all the graduation gifts that society tells us we need to purchase for people who have graduated, be it from high school or college or 8th grade or kindergarten. So they are definitely manufactured holidays. There is that thing. And then the weird thing is you talk about it as a kid, you have the school component to help you make the gift for your mother. Not necessarily your father, because generally you're out of school around the time that happens, but still.
Yeah, but there's other groups that you're still involved in. Like, I was doing stuff in like my church groups and things like that, and we would do like a Father's Day breakfast. What do they call them? Pancake breakfast.
Pancake breakfast,
that kind
right?
of thing. So like society in general, not even just school. It's just like society in general pretty much gears you to when you're a kid to have that stuff like be celebrated and be fun and all of that, but it's also kind of baked into your life, right? In a lot of ways, like you don't even have to think about it. Somebody's going to make sure it gets done for you. And then because there's no religious backing, because there's no major hook to it, it's one of those things that I really precarious later in life and that you hold on to, right? Because I know some people that just like Mother's Day and Father's Day is just like a phone call for them, which is fine. Like I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing that they have. That's just the relationship that they have to the holiday and to their parents, right? But then for some people, like with you, you're like you weren't kidding. Like you legitimately made time to spend time with your mother yesterday. Like we had to move plans around because of it. Like that's also fine. It's just like there's not like a set in stone way across the board people are expected to celebrate it, and because of that I have a really hard time with that, because like I don't know how much is too much or how little is too little, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, it all depends on the person. And one of the other reasons, it's one of those situations like headphones for my mother, that'd be a good birthday or Christmas gift, but I know that she's traveling at the end of the month, right? They're going on like a 4-week excursion to the Arctic Circle. I don't know why I kept wanting to say Antarctic Circle. I guess it's probably because Antarctic is also celebrating Mother's Day today. But I'm an asshole. But yeah, so I know that like she'll get a usage out of them. Also, right, I'm hoping my father doesn't listen to the show, right? If it turns out that he does, problem, we're going to be giving him his Father's Day before they leave, so that he will also have his new headphones that he can use. Because he's had a pair of the Raycon in-ear ones, but he got a lot of wax in those ears. And the problem with in-ear headphones is that if you have really waxy ears, they get blocked, and listening does not work. So the open-ear one should save us from having to clean his headphones, I'm going to say monthly. Right? Like, and you buy one of those kits to clean the in-ear headphones, it's one use only. They know what they were doing.
The big thing out here is bone conducting headphones. Do you know about these ones?
Yeah, I don't really like them. I don't like the sound quality of them.
Yeah, it sounds a little too tinny to me. I don't know if it's just my bones or maybe just not made up to get some good bass going. I don't know.
Well, it sounds tinny because literally the way that it is working by like making your bones vibrate to trigger your oral response, it's higher register stuff. Right, so you're not getting the bass or the mids that you would get from other types of headphones. And there's the proof in an episode of the Say Report that I did most definitely get a degree in something related to sound.
No, but, like Mother's Day and Father's Day, like to your thing about how you're doing Father's Day a little early so that you can guarantee that he's got this gift on time. Like that's totally fine too, because like again, there's nothing else beholding you to it, right? Like it's not like a day off from work you also get, and then if you're not spending that day off with your parents, you feel like a bad person. There's no tree that has to be put up and decorated and then taken down afterwards, right?
Yeah. They're weird holidays because they are. But also on some level, like when you're a kid, everything that you said about like school prepares you by like, you made your mom a macaroni necklace. You made your dad a tie out of paper that he's going to throw away. Sorry. I'm not mad about him throwing that away. It's just sort of the facts of the matter there. It is also weirdly like your father celebrating your mother for giving him a child and vice versa. So there is also like an adult version of it. It's not just on the kids. I gotta tell you, this whole week, right? Every time I went to a store, the like greeting card section was full of fathers and their kids getting ready for Mother's Day. And on the one hand, it was kind of wholesome to see that. But on the other hand, it was just like, wow, look at that. Like, how much of this is the kids and how much is it of the father having to do this stuff? Like, go out and make sure that the wife has a good Mother's Day. It was the first time that I really noticed that shift in the holiday to being something that is not just on the kids, but like really a responsibility of the parent that is not being celebrated. For better or for ill.
Yeah, and
like
and then that just becomes a whole kettle of fish because, like, again, how much is too much, right? Like, what circle do they need to be in? Do I say Happy Mother's Day to every mother I know? Because I know a lot of mothers, but I know a lot of mothers in a context in which they are not mothers, right? Like, I don't, like, it's a weird thing to throw out to people to like say Happy Mother's Day to a person that you do not have that type of relationship with at all. But it is Mother's Day and they are a mother, so like, do you say it?
Yeah, it's strange, right? They're not my mom. That's always the thing that my father's like, and eventually he's like, she's not my mom, so like, it's on you to make sure that your mother has a good Mother's Day. And dear God, boy, if she doesn't.
But I think, like, at work, right? Like, if my company in its like big business BS like nonsense wants to put out like a Happy Mother's Day to all mothers post on Slack at the end of the day before we leave for the weekend, that seems fine to me, right? Like, that seems like something that they would just do. But if individually I went to a person and said Happy Mother's Day at work, I think that I'd be looked at like I had two heads.
Yeah, no, because they're not your mother. It's just like, and also it's just so weird. Like, I don't want to wish somebody else a Happy Mother's Day because you don't know the situation. Because it is not like, you're not supposed to really wish people like a Merry Christmas because it could be a kettle of fish that you're.
Well, no, let's look. You need to.
I'm not trying to bring up
we
the
need
war
to.
on
We need to.
Christmas.
We need to
I'm just saying.
reword that.
Yeah.
You need to be more considerate when you wish people a Merry Christmas, because we don't know their context with the holiday, right?
Right. But
But it's not that you shouldn't,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, if somebody said Happy Hanukkah to me, even though I'm not fully Jewish in any way, I wouldn't be offended. I would appreciate that they were bringing me into their holiday. You know, that there's context to that we don't often talk about in that conversation. To that, like, I kind of like it when people wish me a happy holiday that I'm not necessarily familiar with or involved in, because
welcoming.
like, it does bring me to
very
that.
welcoming.
But
I
that's
agree.
also individual, right? That is also just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, because some people do get offended if you wish them a holiday that they do not celebrate. And I don't get that, right? Our lives are hard enough where, like, you're going to get offended by something like that. It's like you're actively searching for something to get mad over. And doesn't that just sound like the most exhausting way to live your life?
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy Mother's Day. Belated Mother's Day to any listeners out there who may be mothers. We were thinking about you on the Say Report, but mostly because we were thinking about our own mothers. For better or for ill. But yeah, this is a big episode. We got a lot to talk about. We went a little longer on Mother's Day than I was expecting. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Sejohn, do you want to get Suits LA out of the way? Because it's a big week for Suits LA.
Yeah, in the most unfortunate ways possible. But let's talk about what happened this week.
So before we start our recap, let's say before we start our recap, Suits LA has been canceled, and I have to be honest with everyone here, I am elated by that, and I'm elated for a couple of reasons. A, it's nice to know that I haven't had my skills in being able to read the tea leaves on whether or not a show is doing well diminished by something like the pandemic, where it really did become difficult to tell if a show was successful or not. Right? The landscape
in our own
has
internet
changed.
bubbles, it's good to confirm that we are able to read beyond our own bubble a little bit. I mean, not entirely. But.
I mean, there are some other issues going on, and we've touched on them before, and I think we're probably going to touch on them a little bit after the Suits LA recap. But Suits LA will be a one and done. And that's just the thing that we need to accept. And I've kind of been celebrating with everybody about it. And it's not that I don't enjoy the recaps. It's just that the show isn't great. Like when I said, let's recap Suits, I was kind of hoping it would bring the same energy from the original series. And it just kind of hasn't. But there's also one other thing with the change, with the fact that Suits LA has been canceled. I'm modifying the song a little bit. So for the approval of the audience, here is the new Suits LA recap song, and then we'll get into the recap of episode 11, Stewart and the Tedster. Recapping Suits LA, it's just a one and done at the end of the day. It didn't get renewed, but we're gonna finish it. It's Suits LA on the Say Report. This was a great episode of Suits LA. That's what episode 11 was.
Oh, no.
It was a really good episode of the show. You need to understand, this show has 2 episodes left, and we got the news that it was canceled on Friday. I have taken to watching the Suits LA the day that we're going to be recording. I used to watch it Monday nights because I was so excited for it, but then we missed it once, and I watched it live before the show, and I felt like my recap was more energetic. And so, I should keep this going, right? Because you go back to them, some of them were not as high energy as some of the other ones. But this episode did something bold. For an episode of Suits LA, it did not feature Ted Black in the cold open. The cold open was Stewart Lane dropping off his children at school and singing with all of his might, Tearing Up My Heart. Just fully going. When he's like, come on, guys, sing along. Because we finally got to meet Stewart's kid. I say that we finally got to meet Stewart's kids. They were in the back with headphones on, playing on iPads. But they exist, right? It's not a lie. Stewart Lane is a father, which terrifies me. Just terrifies me. So he's given his all to the song, and then the kids are involved, and he says, and this is partially proof as to why I'm terrified at the fact that Stewart Lane is a father, you guys take the fun out of everything. That's what he said to his children, because they didn't want to sing along to a 90s boy band with him as he dropped them off to school. You guys take the fun out of everything. Happy Father's Day, Stewart. You're getting a flaming bag of dog poop outside of every door of your house. But then, because he's distracted by his kids in the drop-off line, he ends up rear-ending the car in front of him. And Sejohn, who do you think was driving that car?
Bird Notice. No.
That'd be awesome. Man, now I'm mad that it wasn't Bird Notice. But it was still pretty solid.
I don't know. Was it Ted?
No, Ted doesn't have children. He's too emotionally broken to have children or a wife or anyone close to him in his life. It was Yvette Nicole Brown playing Yvette Nicole Brown, and she and him went off on an insult fight for the ages. He's like, look, I don't want to see your Drake and Josh guest star ass ever again. I was a recurring on Drake and Josh. Oh, I guess Community then. Community was a great show. Yeah, that's why the American public has just forgotten it. Most overrated show ever. So they spar and they have this whole thing. But there's a problem with the fact that Stewart got into a fight with Yvette Nicole Brown because she's one of Rick's clients.
Oh,
so he is told by Samantha, you need to make this right with Yvette Nicole Brown. And Stewart is the most inconsistent character on television. But he's like, I'm not going to apologize. Why should I apologize when she's stopped in the drop-off line? You're not supposed to stop in the drop-off line. You're supposed to keep moving until you get to drop-off, and that's when you stop. it was just such like a weird thing. But it's like, you're going to make nice with her. So, yeah. So he goes to Rick and he's like, I need you to apologize to Yvette Nicole Brown for me. I know she's your client. And he goes, yeah, a third party apologizing for you, that's not really an apology. You need to sit down with her and apologize. But then, of course, because he's Stuart Lane and he's an asshole, when he sits down to apologize with her, it gets worse. He insults her again. She's like, you're the worst actress in Hollywood, to which she has a really nice line. I can think of 5 people who are worse than me. All right, maybe 4. Like, it was like this whole moment. But he said during that whole thing, like, I'm not apologizing for you. I'm not paying for the damages. I was going to make this right, but no, I'm not anymore. And she goes, what did you just say? And he goes, did I stutter? And that was Stewart's fatal flaw. Because Yvette Nicole Brown went to the school and said that he was making fun of people with disabilities because of that comment, and got him banned from being able to attend any events at his children's school because of that action. Which, like, fucking insane, right? Like, is that a real thing that happens, or is that just a TV thing?
Yeah.
Because
man, I don't know. Here's the thing. It feels like one of those kinds of things you could definitely read about in the paper actually happening, but I don't want to go around and act like that's the world, right? Because I don't want that to be the world.
I mean, if it's the world anywhere, it's certainly the world in LA. Like, by setting it suits LA, it becomes a little bit like, all right, I can believe it. It's also a private academy. If it were a public school, I think that they might have difficulty, but clearly he's dropping them off at a private school, and private schools can basically do whatever they want. They're their own little fiefdoms, right? I'm surprised that some of them haven't militarized and seceded from the United States with everything that's going on right now. So that really upset Stuart, because, like, his daughter's going to be in a play, so he won't be able to see her in the play. And he's been at all of his son's soccer games, and they're going for the semifinals. They're in the semifinals. So he's, like, really broken up by, I don't get to go to my kid's school anymore, which, like, is understandable. That feels like a nuclear option. We literally just sat here and said, is that a real thing that could happen? Like, yeah, like it really does feel like Yvette Nicole Brown brought it to a like serious level with that. So then Rick sits down with her and he's like, look, you can't do this to him. He will do anything, but he can't be in the room with you because he doesn't want to make this worse. So she says that he will have to write her a poem and perform the poem in front of a large group of people. That's the big one. There was another thing as well. I don't remember what. Oh, he can no longer listen to 90s boy bands while he is in the drop-off line. That is one of the things that she makes sure. And then there's a last one, and I do not remember what the last one was, but it was like the big deal one. She's like, he's going to hate it. And she's like, that's fine, but he's going to do it if he wants to go to the school again. I wish I could remember what it was. I will have it for next episode because it was just, the whole thing just felt, by that point, like, I'm a little tired of it. Like, it was kind of fun what was going on, but it just kind of just escalated to an absurd level, a level of absurdity that just, I don't know. But it was fun because Yvette Nicole Brown was on fire, right? I love her in anything that she does. The Odd Couple, remember The Odd Couple with R.I.P. Matt Perry and Tom Lennon? She was one of the real highlights of that show as Oscar's manager. Like, she was really good. Well, not manager.
They had like 3 seasons, right?
They had 3 seasons, yeah. No, Wendell Pierce was his manager. She was like his assistant. But she was a big part of him getting the show done. Because he was like a weird sort of podcaster, radio guy who just did it from a room in his house. Which, that room was immaculate, even before Felix Unger moved in. But that was fun. And then the other side of the show is Patton Oswalt is in the office ready to sign contracts with Ted. And he's like, if I sign this contract, Patton, you have no negotiating ability. Are you sure you want to do it? And he's like, this is the kind of movie that I want to do, Ted. I want to sign this contract now. But lo and behold, while Ted goes to get the contract so they can sign it, Brian Baumgartner is also in the office. He's in the office, but he's also in the law firm office. He's sitting in the conference room waiting to meet with Erica Rollins because he's trying to get the pet deposit waived at the place he'll be staying in New York while he's doing dramatic work on Broadway. And that's why he's there. So he's waiting for Erica. And Patton comes in and he's like, hey, I just want to apologize about like how heated things got the last time we were in here. And Brian's like, no, it's all right. Erica explained that she kind of put you up to it to challenge me to rise above like my own preconceived notions about what I could do. And he's like, yeah, but it still doesn't matter. And if there's anything that I could do for you, just let me know. So Brian Baumgartner goes, you could get me a role in this new action comedy that you're doing. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I can't do that, though. And Brian Baumgartner's like, oh, you don't have the pull, like, you don't want to mess. He's like, oh, no, it's because you're not funny. That's what he says to Brian Baumgartner. And so they get into a fight about, like, oh, yeah, because everybody's laughing at Ratatouille. That's what fucking Brian Baumgartner says. And Pat Oswalt goes, it's Ratatouille, as if, like, he didn't get that it was an insult. I don't think the movie was called Ratatouille, Patton Oswalt. So, like, they fight, and then they actually get into, like, a physical altercation. Patton Oswalt jumps on Brian Baumgartner's back, and he's, like, spinning around trying to get him off. And Ted comes into the conference room, and he's like, stop it. And they're like, he started it. No, he started it. And Ted, it's Mother's Day, so I guess it's appropriate, goes, well, I'm ending it. And it was the funniest fucking moment. But because Brian Baumgartner said something to Patton Oswalt that got in his head about doing his own stunts. You're going to be in this action comedy. What do you think? You're going to do your own stunts and suddenly the world's going to think of you as an action star? Now Patton wants to modify his contract so that he is doing all of his own stunts in the movie. Which is fucking crazy. Like that, what a crazy thing to want to do. But they try to humanize him, and the reason is he's always felt safe playing an actor. He's never been afraid when he's acting. But now that Brian has said that, he's gotten into his own mind. So even though they watch the animatic of the stunt that he has to do, we don't get to see it, but we get to see Patton's reaction to it. And it's pretty much like the best 2 minutes of TV, probably from last week. I haven't caught up on everything, but he's just like, why is he doing somersaults? Does he have no regard for his own safety? Oh God, the parachute opened. Okay, he's safe. This is fine. The parachute's open. Oh my God, the parachute broke. Why would the parachute break? Yeah, but watch the landing. He dead. I'll die, Ted. I can't do this. But then he says, but even though that, because the whole, from an entertainment law standpoint, the fact of the matter is, it'd be $1 million to insure him. Let's tie it into Thunderbolts, which I want to talk about Thunderbolts a little bit again. Florence Pugh jumped off that building at the beginning of Thunderbolts. That is a real stunt that she did. That really happened. And like,
yeah, she went full Tom Cruise on that moment, and it was awesome.
It made it so good. Like, and especially the fact, like, she talked about, I'm shitting my pants, but I'm also Yelena Belanova, so I cannot show that I'm shitting my pants. I just have to go steel-faced and step off of one of the tallest buildings in Asia. And, like, it works. It's crazy, because you have the actor there actually doing it. And it's beautiful, and that's the whole thing. Was that so he agrees to do it because he doesn't want to be afraid anymore, and he allows. It's kind of a nothing burger of a story. The other big story, and then we'll go to the past with our last 3 minutes, is that Amanda Stevens is the defense attorney for the 16-year-old girl who assaulted her father, and she's trying to get a conservatorship so that the girl can pay for a lawyer instead of get a public defender. She goes to court and she basically says, we need to be able to get this conservatorship, and if not, we at least want to see the books, because my client is alleging the reason that she threw a statue at her dad is because he is keeping money from her, and we just want to see the books so that we can see what's being done with the money. Because it feels like he's appropriating her funds, the work that she's done, and like using it for his own ends. But the other thing is this little girl, Celeste, she was in a show called Wholesome Creek, And the real problem was she was offered a role. She's only 16, this actor, but she was offered a role in which her father says she would be playing a whore and nobody will take you seriously after you play that role. So that's like what the whole fight was about. And then she threw a statue at him. But then after
it's a play off of the oh man, what's the one from the 90s with the actress from Cosby? Mickey Rourke there.
I'm not sure.
But she gets killed in like a shotgun blast in like one of the most unfortunate ways in cinema history.
Yeah.
And like it was this whole thing about how she was on the Cosby Show and suddenly she was in this very dark psychosexual like thriller of a film and yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing about that. But then, so Amanda ends up having to take the case pro bono. So Ted says, then we need to sign her as a client because we need to get something out of the fact that you're representing this girl. Meanwhile, the DA then says, we want to charge her as an adult. The whole argument for the conservatorship of the money is that she should be an adult. So now we're going to charge her as an adult. She's making adult money and all of that, which then Amanda uses that to counter and say that I want her to be legally emancipated and no longer under the control of her father. But then when she's legally emancipated, the DA ups the charges to attempted murder, which honestly, from a legal standpoint, trying to prove attempted murder would be much fucking harder. Because by all accounts, it was two people having an argument. In her rage and passion, she threw a statue at her father. There was no premeditation or attempt at murdering him. Right? Put that before a jury. There's a really good chance you could win the case. But instead, they're like, we can't let this see a courtroom. We can't let this see a courtroom. So they sit down with the father. They have a discussion. And it turns out the only reason he doesn't let her see the money is because of how fucking much it is. And he doesn't want her to fuck her up. He doesn't want to screw her over and like make her not a human being because she has ungodly amounts of money. So like he's thinking about her well-being. But, like, just fucking tell her that. Show her that. And then say, I don't want you to not have a childhood. Like, it really just boiled down to poor communication between the father and the actor. It was just...
Lisa Bonet, by the way. Lisa Bonet in Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro is what I was thinking about. She plays an underage prostitute in the movie, if I remember correctly, and, like, has, like, a horrific death scene, and people... were at the time a little the eyebrows were raised because the big thing that she was known for in the moment was the Cosby Show, but apparently it was a huge deal back then.
Yeah, I mean that's the type of stuff that we see, right? We don't want to see. It's a weird world. And then I know that the 16 minutes is up, but there's just one other thing. Turns out that Ted. The reason why Patton Oswalt is his client is when he was in LA back in 2010 for Stewart's bachelor party, Patton Oswalt was at the karaoke bar they went and performed at as the titular Stewart and the Tedster, and they sang, making sure Suits LA got all of its money out of the licensing rights, Tearing Up My Heart at the karaoke bar. And while they were performing, Eddie was filming it. And Patton Oswalt like said hi to him and he goes, oh, you're famous. I loved you in King of Queens. And Eddie's being like genuine. So Patton's having a nice conversation with him. And this asshole fan comes over and says, yo, let me get an autograph. And Patton's like, no, I'm talking to my friend here. And that fan goes, yeah, Make-A-Wish can wait. I want your fucking autograph. In which Ted comes over and knocks that guy out. And then he has a conversation with Patton. And Patton recognizes Ted because you put away Pellegrini. You're like famous to me. And he's like, that's funny because you're supposed to be famous to me. What do you mean supposed to be famous to me? I haven't seen you in anything, Patton. I got to be honest with you. And he's like, oh, Ted, that kind of honesty, we don't get that in Hollywood. Have you ever thought of being an entertainment lawyer? So, like, the origin of Ted becoming an entertainment lawyer is partially because Patton Oswalt told him to do it at a karaoke bar 15 years ago. And also, like, because we know Eddie dies, the fact that Stewart's been trying to get me to come out to LA, but I could never leave Eddie. So also the death of his brother is why he ended up leaving New York and coming to LA. And they're like trying to treat that like a secret. But no, we all know that it happens. It's how you opened a series.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I mean, the other crazy
how
thing
many episodes left then?
Two. There's two episodes left. So the next 2 episodes, we'll have episode 12 and episode 13, will be done. Unfortunately, it is encroaching into Brendan Fraser History Month, but, I want to see what they do with these last 2 episodes, but I don't think they knew that they were getting canceled, so probably huge cliffhanger at the end of this season that will never be resolved. And that suits LA on the Say Report. All right, Siege, where do you want to go from here? Do we want to start celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month? You said you had a lot to say about Dragon Age Inquisition, which I have a little bit of a wrinkle there, but do we want to go Dragons or Brothers?
Dragon Age Veilguard.
Veilguard, sorry.
No, let's hold off on that one for a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what we're doing this month for what we did this month to celebrate Brendan Fraser.
What we did this past week. To celebrate Brendan Fraser this month. I love it. We watched, it's his most recent film, right? It's the last feature film that he was in. Yeah, so we watched the 2023 film Brothers, starring Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage, with an uncredited Marissa Tomei, a little bit of Glenn Close in there, Jen Landon from Yellowstone. She plays Teeter. I want that bear. Great cast. The movie just has a great cast. And if you're looking for something to watch this Thanksgiving, it's a Thanksgiving movie. They celebrate 3 Thanksgivings in this movie.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So had you seen it before?
So a little background on the movie itself first. Just it is his most recent film. But the whole thing about how it got made and how it came together is interesting. It is written by a Coen brother, or credited to Ethan Coen, who has done a ton of weird little side projects on his own. Not weird that he's on his own, really, in that regard. But then the other writer on it is Macon Blair, and this is an interesting relationship because this film features not only Brendan Fraser but also Peter Dinklage in one of the main roles, and Dinklage has been working with Macon Blair at this point on the Toxic Avenger, the shelved Toxic Avenger.
It's coming out this August.
So in a lot of ways,
it has a release date.
Well, now it does, yes. But at the time of the making of Brothers, the Toxic Avenger had been made and then kind of in development hell, or release hell, really, because it had been developed. And so Macon Blair kind of gets to work with Dinklage again. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that that things didn't work out with Toxic Avenger at the time, so they just wanted to get something out there, or what. But it's got an interesting little piece of in the moment, kind of flash in the pan, like heat and luck, to pull together a pretty rad cast and a pretty rad behind the scenes group. But yeah, no, you're right. At this point now, we are going to finally get to see the Toxic Avenger. It does have a release date for this year. That's going to be pretty wild. Yeah. Brothers, I'm clocking Brothers as a 2024 film. Was it 2023 Thanksgiving, and then it just kind of got to be in 2024, or was
I don't know. Maybe all the stuff at the end is 2023, but you're probably right. Also, before we go further, Ethan Coen is not one of the Coen brothers. While it is Joel and Ethan Coen who are the Coen brothers, and Ethan his actual name is Ethan Coen, he has changed it in the Writers Guild of America to ETAN Coen because of that. So you fell for the classic blunder. The first is never get to a land war in Asia.
Macon Blair.
Macon Blair is definitely the more important thing. So it is not one of the Coen brothers. It is an Ethan Coen. You're not wrong there, but I just want to make sure, because it's something that I thought of every time I see it too. So, but I remember going back there. So yeah, it did release in 2024, but it was also made in 2023 along the same time as Toxic Avenger. Yeah, this came out October 2024. I really thought that it was, 2024 is crazy, but then it's also 2023 was crazy as well because of the strikes and everything. So
okay, Ethan Coen worked with Josh Brolin before in Men in Black 3. Interesting pull there. Okay, cool.
So it's just an important thing to know about.
But the bigger thing is what's going on with Macon Blair and Peter Dinklage is in regards to when this movie comes out. That was kind of the way this movie found its way to me, at least, right? It was people being like, "Oh yeah, they didn't get to do that, but this is going to be doing its thing." And the script is the script is absurd, like purposely so. Like it is an absurd heist story kind of or noir thriller. Like I don't know the best way to describe it, but it is interesting. It is complex. It is weird. It is funny. It is exciting at moments, like scary at moments. There's some shit going on in this movie.
It is just, I mean, basically, it's also kind of like a weird remake of Twins, in the fact that, you know, the titular brothers, Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage, play, respectively, Moke and JD. John David, but JD is what he's called, and Moke is what the other one said because he couldn't say Mike when he was growing up because he was like basically deaf, which turned him into an expert safe cracker. They're twins as well, which is really funny because Brendan Fraser, this whole movie, he's a villain. Brendan Fraser is the villain who is pursuing them. He plays the son of a judge who is a peace officer and corrections officer at the prison where Peter Dinklage is being held for a heist that they got caught during. Josh Brolin was able to get away. Peter Dinklage kind of stayed. He went to prison for 5 years. 5-year time jump. Again, I'm sorry for not recognizing at Endgame how much of a trope 5 years passing truly is in cinema.
Yeah.
But so he plays Farful, Officer Farful, and his father has arranged for Peter Dinklage to get out because their mother, like 30 years earlier, with Glenn, her boyfriend, Glenn was the fucking coolest, Sejohn, had stole some emeralds, and Glenn, shot in the belly and dying in his last, like, action, swallowed the emeralds, and then their mother buried the body and ran away and left them behind. I think they were 15. So, yeah, and they're about in their 40s. That like, sort of tracks.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
But their mother played by Glenn Close in a role that... I mean, I forget how much I like Glenn Close as an actress until, like, I'm in the middle of a project that she's on, and I'm just thinking, fuck, man. Like, I completely forget that it's her. Like, halfway through the movie, there are scenes of this movie that if you watch them... it doesn't even look like her. Like she disappears into this role, and it's been a while since I've seen her take on something so meaty. So like it was cool.
Yeah. Also,
probably not since Damages, really, for me.
Yeah, Damages was definitely a big thing. I liked her as Nova in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but then also think about the fact of like just how much MCU is in this film, with the fact that Brolin as Thanos and Dinklage as the
dwarf,
the blacksmith. Yeah, it's just, yeah, and Emmett Walsh showing up, and I love Emmett Walsh as the judge, and so it's this kind of heist movie where, like, Peter Dinklage is being coerced by the law, right, to go retrieve these emeralds in terms of, that's why he got released from prison and everything, and Brendan Fraser...
But in turn, he's also coercing his own brother into helping
in order to help him, yeah. He gets him fired from his job by calling, basically...
Yeah, we find out... We find out that he's the one that faked a phone call to get his brother fired from the job that he was at, so that he
Labor Enforcement Bureau. Right? Yeah.
Just also, there's an orangutan. Just to talk about how weird this movie just decides to be sometimes.
Nope. Not only is there an orangutan, Josh Brolin jacks the orangutan off,
and it smokes, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that also a thing that happens?
Yeah, it is all of the tropes about you're going to have an ape in your movie, we're going to make sure we put in there. And we're going to build a new one, Josh Brolin jacks off an ape. That's a weird scene.
It almost, this movie in a lot of places almost feels like it's a dare. Like somebody dared these writers to put this into a movie. Like, I bet you couldn't figure out a way to work in a monkey jerk-off scene into a film. Oh yeah, I bet I could.
Not only that, it kind of makes sense in a weird way. Like it doesn't come from nowhere. Also, the monkey can
within the it's verisimilitude within the reality of the play. It is true to what we see, right? So this idea is like it doesn't feel out of place weirdly.
Yeah, and also I like that they show a little bit, but most of it's tell, and it is one of the last things that is confirmed in the movie when he finally gets home to his pregnant wife, where she's like, "Was it bad?" And he's like, "I jerked off an orangutan." Like, oh, he said it, right? He admitted it.
Right.
Like, because the way they treat it is the fact that, like he puts a bunch of hand sanitizer on his hands and then on his face and everything, like, forever unclean. But, like, that could just be the fact that you touched an orangutan's junk. The fact that, like, by the end of the movie, they make it implicitly clear he brought that orangutan to climax is, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for us.
Oh, man.
And I think it does. I mean, the movie is just a lot of fun. And really, who we should be celebrating and what we're going to celebrate, I think, for the rest of it, and maybe some other stuff, but Brendan Fraser as Farful is excellent. Like, I'm ready to see Brendan Fraser play a John Wick, Jason Statham style role. Like, seeing him as the bad guy, now we are queued up to see him do that as the good guy. Like, by the end of the movie, he's basically the Terminator. He's got on a bulletproof vest with a Punisher-style patch in the Velcro. He's got a whole, like, what is that called? Magazine belt of shotgun. Yeah, bandolier. He's got a whole bandolier of shotgun shells. He's walking through a abandoned mall, beat to shit because that same orangutan kicked his ass when he went to go see Marissa Tomei, who owns the orangutan. Not really owns the orangutan. The orangutan is her journey partner through life, is how she defines it. And the orangutan beats his ass. Like, it looks like his knee is probably broken. He's kind of working with like a stilted limp, and he's still scary. Even though, I mean, this is Brendan Fraser kind of coming off doing The Whale, so he's looking like bulkier than usual, and not like not with muscle, but like with fat. But you don't think that, like, he's not going to be able to perform. It's not Marlon Brando at the end of Apocalypse Now.
Island of Dr. Moreau. Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Either or. Pick your Brando. He looks like he can still move, and he does seem like a threat. There's a moment where Peter Dinklage gets to, like, the halfway house that he's staying in, and he comes in, and Brendan Fraser is believed to have thrown him across the room into the bathtub. And it is completely believable. And not just for the verisimilitude of the piece, but just in general, it seems like the kind of thing that he would be able to do. And I like that.
I mean, he's... The other thing is that he is just in... like, character-wise, the choice that he's doing in terms of just being pretty much psychotic. Like is just... He just gets angrier and angrier and angrier as this movie goes on.
And then he gets crushed by a Christmas tree, as all angry people do. Watch out, Stuart Lee.
Why was there a Christmas...
Because it probably died right around Christmas time. Like, Christmas happened,
then wouldn't the tree...
Okay,
it's fine.
Here's what happened, Sejohn. I'm going to tell you why that mall was dead. They had Christmas, and then in January, the mall was closed forever. So then why would anyone go in and take down the Christmas decorations? We're just going to leave those up. Maybe we'll open again.
As somebody that has worked in an actual dead mall, yes, you sell off everything.
Yeah. But again, we don't understand, and they don't understand either. They just think that dead mall is a cool place to have it. And there's, like, some great moments, like Peter Dinklage, like, Mookie, look at these puppets! Like, when you say this movie seems like a dare, especially, here's the other crazy thing about this movie. At its core, despite all of the insane things that happens in the film Brothers, it's a pretty wholesome film. The idea, like, there's this moment, like, when the mother runs off with Glenn at the beginning. Glenn was so fucking cool, Sejohn. She says, they're like, take us with you, Mom, right? Josh Brolin's character as a kid goes, take us with you. And he believes that she says to him, I have no use for you. Meaning, she's a criminal. They're career criminals. They come from a family of career criminals. And if there was a thing that he could do for this job, then she would bring him along. But right now, she doesn't view him as having any use, so that's why she's leaving him and his brother behind. But, like, at the hour mark of this film, it's revealed that what she actually said was, I can't lose you. And the fact that, like, if I bring you with me, I'm putting you in danger. And it's like this kind of nice moment. And I do believe that that's what actually happened. Glenn Close's character is basically a pathological liar. We find that out through most of the things that occur in this film. But the idea that Moki had sort of hearing issues until he was like almost in his 20s, like the fact that he might have misheard what she said, and that being a big thing that would, you know, it like influence how he felt about the way things went with her. It works in this really weird way, and it's kind of sweet that when she tells him that, that's when, I mean, I don't love any movie where somebody breaks their sobriety, but he finally allows himself to have fun with his mother again. And it's kind of a beautiful little moment. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
I like
man.
it. I really do enjoy this movie.
We did mention Judge Farful, right? Emmett Walsh, in his final film role, right?
Yes, I believe it is his final film role because he did pass away. And he's just having fun on camera. There's no other way to put it. He's shooting a shotgun while in a wheelchair and getting pushed back with every shot. Like, he's having fun. So, like, for final thing.
Yeah, a great character actor, always great. But no, like, so like the Fraser of it all, this is just such a wild and interesting one because he really does get to do something that we've never really seen him do before, right? Like, I can't think of any other role where he's gotten to be this over the top, really, you know? Like this is it was fantastic. It's a fun movie, and he is really fun in it. It's just also just one of the more absurd things over the last. It almost feels like, you know, I talk about those movies that came out during COVID that kind of came out and because there was no other time to release them. Like War with Grandpa being my favorite example. Like that movie was going to get like fucking roasted whenever it got out, and like COVID almost gave it like a free pass to like come out, say it came out, everybody gets paid, but then nobody ever has to think about this movie ever again. Brothers feels like it was on that bubble, like it was just on the line of like, we don't know if we'd be able to at any other point in Hollywood right now be able to make this movie and like have it come out and have people kind of like jam on it a little bit. So like it lucked out in that kind of way, because I think that if this movie came out today, right, I don't know if it would get the kind of weird little cult following that it developed when it came out last year, just a year ago, less than a year ago. But there's just something about, I don't know.
It also feels like it was, I feel like it kicked it off. If I'm wrong in that, then prove me wrong. But it kicked off this weird sort of thing that happened in Hollywood, and I do not doubt that it is either because of COVID and the fact that we're just going to dump out these movies that like should be good, but like we looked at them and like, maybe not. Or these were these little projects that like people were kind of putting together in secret during the strike, and then they were able to like put them together and release them. Because Brothers feels like it is cut from the exact same cloth as something like The Instigators with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, or Wolves with Clooney and Brad Pitt. Those three films feel like a set of movie triplets, and not necessarily because of like the plots, though most of them are kind of like heist-ish movies, but the idea of like two well-known actors coming together to like two-hand a film. And they're not
project-wise they feel very vibey too. They're in the same vein. Yeah.
So it well, let's see, right? Because I can see when The Instigators came out. Look up Wolves, Sejohn. We'll split it, right? So The Instigators,
it's Wolves, isn't it? Isn't Wolves, that the joke?
Yeah. It's no V. So yeah. Instigators was August 9th, 2024. So that would have been the first one, because then I think Wolves, which I can also look at right here,
was
Wolf
is 2024 as well, but
September 27th, 2024. So actually Brothers is the last one of that. It was his Dale's birthday movie, Wolves. But yeah, so, and the Instigators and Wolves were both Apple TV films. Brothers is an Amazon original that went like straight to Amazon. So it just kind of felt like this weird, this is the type of movie we're doing now.
Right. I think that it was like I think it was like there's something that feels very much like these artists are just taking a moment to do one for themselves. I think that's what it is. Is like it really feels like this is one that the people involved are in this not because it's going to be an award winner, not because it's going to be a big box office draw, but rather this just feels like one of the ones they just wanted to do. I don't think you look at a script like Brothers and think this is the movie that's going to bring me back to the to the top. I'm gonna not that there's not great moments in it to act, and you never know what role is going to be the one that really gets you there, but there's the Oscar bait script that gets into your hand and you think this is the one I'm going to do, and we're going to see it in November and it's going to get us going. Brothers feels like a script that you really have to be on board for if you're gonna work on that project, right? And the same goes for those other two as well.
Yeah, I agree. And also, to just go back to this feels like a dare, honestly, with everything that happened with Toxic Avenger, I would not be surprised if Macon Blair was writing this movie. Like, they said Toxic Avenger was too much, so, like, let's coach too much in this kind of wholesome story about two brothers getting back together with their mother, right? Because there's also some other crazy stuff, like the fact that the gems are in Glenn's decayed body stomach, so Josh Brolin has to reach in there and scoop them out. Like, that's a pretty gross scene, but we coached it in this nice kind of family-friendly comedy, so you don't question it, right? It's like a lot of this, like, really off-the-wall stuff, like jacking off an orangutan, or the way that Farfel, like, exists in the world. Like, it is just... like it does. It really kind of does feel like we're going to see what we can get away with if we don't color it as a remake of one of the most off-color. I mean, I love Toxic Avenger. Sejohn and I, one of our bonding moments was the first Toxic Avenger. I'll say that. If you disagree, let me know off mic and break my heart there.
No.
And I'm very excited that we're going to get to see the one that Peter Dinklage is in. That it has a release date of August this year. We're going to talk about it on the show if we're able to see it. I mean, I don't doubt that for a second. Just because of how much...
I think I think we owe a little bit of this to Terrifier, I have to be honest. The rise of Terrifier as a franchise and then the release of the third one in actual theaters and it doing... well for itself, right? Like, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and act like it top the charts, but because of that, I think that there somebody raised their eyebrows and went, well, we got a movie that's kind of gross and violent. Like, what can we do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hold on. I want to see what Terrifier 3 did. I'm on Box Office Mojo. I mean, it made $90 million.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. That's no slouch. I mean,
no, the Terrifier movies are a weird little successful microcosm of film. It's weird.
Yeah, and that's like that's worldwide. Domestically, 53 million, but that's in its original release, which was only August 9th to November 28th. So 2 months to make that. That's pretty good. It's not based on the metrics that Hollywood cares about. They would have wanted it to make that $53 million in its opening weekend, and then everything else is like just cherries on top. But yeah,
right.
So, I mean, Brothers was fun, and it's fun seeing Brendan Fraser get to play. I can't think of a lot of films where he's the villain, right? Like, I guess the closest one is Furry Vengeance that jumps to mind.
Furry Vengeance, we get to see him be a dick, right? Like, I think that's more what it is like there are more often times where we just get to see him kind of be a douche, and this is beyond that, right? Like, he is like evil in this movie in certain scenes. Yeah. Man, that moment in the woods with Glenn Close when she runs off, and which leads into the scene in the car, which is I think the big like trailer scene for this movie, right? Is I Am Justice.
Yeah, the I Am Justice thing from but also the like I was just kidding about killing her kids. I didn't expect her to run off. Like, he's weirdly for playing what is meant to be a just completely off the wall sociopath in the character of Farful. He's weirdly self-aware in these moments, and that's what kind of makes him scarier.
Well, and so it's what that is the comedian in him is perfect for this role because it's all about how like in any other hands, well, not in any other hands. There are plenty of other people that could play this role, and it would have been funny too, I guess. But in a certain set of hands, this role falls really flat, right? Like if you give this to a certain type of actor, this doesn't land with like laughs the way that it does with Fraser. Fraser makes so much out of the jokes in the script that it makes up for how otherwise vile his character behaves, right?
Yeah.
Like and in everything that he does. And so like you're saying, he has these great little moments of levity and like and you're just it's just and it's so much funnier because of how dark everything else is, right? I mean, I'm just explaining dark humor at this point.
That's all right,
But think about like Monkey Bone, right? Like another dark movie. Not that he's necessarily bad in that movie, but he has moments in that movie where he is not great, and on top of that, he has to play Monkey Bone at some point, right, in his own body, and so like he has the ability to play off like he gets the other side of the line as it were, but this is just so far beyond anything we've ever seen before from him, and I love it.
It's certainly what I hope we're gonna see from him is things that like bolder choices and just insane roles from him because we know he's got it in him. Like here's the thing that I was kind of lamenting as we were trying to think of like what are we gonna look at from Brendan Fraser stuff. I really wanted another Hairbrained. I cannot express to you how much the film Hairbrained really worked for me as a film. And I just kind of want like another cozy Brendan Fraser film, but at the same time, watching something where he is just completely off the rails and getting to do basically whatever he wants, it also really worked for me.
I feel like he brings the same
ways.
energy to this role that he did to George in George of the Jungle. Like there is a level of kind of just he could get away with anything in this role that is fun to watch an actor handle that well. There are times when we see that. I mean, we mentioned Brando earlier, right? And like he was infamous for trying to act that way, and it made for some pretty shitty films towards the end of his career. But like if there's enough trust in the actor and the actor handles it well, it is fun to watch them do their craft, right? In like their own way. We very rarely get to see people really take that bite of the apple. And when we do, we try and celebrate it. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here. And that's good, right? And yeah, so that's Brothers. Check it out. It's available on Amazon Prime. And it's worth your time. Even though he's not like the big, he's the third, right? I'd say he's the third lead in it because he's in it longer than Glenn Close. Like
Definitely. Yeah. The part of Glenn Close's whole character is that she keeps disappearing on them throughout various points in their lives in the story. So I wouldn't say she's around nearly as much as he is. No, I would say he's probably I would if I was pitching this movie to anybody, I would say Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage play brothers and Brendan Fraser plays the baddie. Yeah. That would be the pitch for this movie.
Brendan Fraser is the black hat in this film. So
yeah, you get to see Fraser play the antagonist. So yeah.
And he gets the with credit too. I always like seeing the with credit go to somebody who earned it. It was a good time. It's a good movie, and I'm glad. Thank you, Sejohn, for suggesting it. And we'll have more Brendan Fraser fun celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month next week. But for now, there's some other stuff we need to talk about. As Sejohn, I'd like to pull the pin on something that we put a pin in a long time ago, and that's the song 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20.
Oh, man. Okay.
And the reason for this is last night I went out to the bar, and there was an acoustic duo playing. I know them, but they asked me if I'd come up and sing a song. And the song that I ended up singing was 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20, a song I have never performed in front of people before, right? A song I didn't know that some of those lyrics were in there. But we were talking about how it's actually a pretty tragic song, which shouldn't be surprising at all if you listen to the lyrics. But like, I feel like it was kind of made a joke of in the 90s. You just seem yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's that problem with the like pop alt like music of the 90s where it all had that very upbeat sound to it, even though it was all about people breaking up or cheating on each other or breaking up and then cheating on each other somehow. But and also doing a lot of drugs, but not saying those specific drugs in the song.
Yes, exactly. I don't know. The thing about this for this song, there is also the fact that It is a Rob Thomas song, but originally it was released by Tabitha's Secret. Are you familiar with Tabitha's Secret at all?
Is that another one of his bands?
Yeah, Tabitha's Secret is an American rock band formed in 1990 in Orlando, Florida, with Rob Thomas as the lead vocalist. And in 95 they broke up, which is what paved the way for Matchbox 20. So 3 a.m. is technically, I mean, Rob Thomas wrote it, but it's originally a Tabitha's Secret song. It's just you never really heard of that band. And that version of it is far less poppy. We used to give each other tasks and stuff like to get through when the strikes were going on and everything. I don't love assigning homework to the listener, but I would recommend you give the Tabitha's Secret version of 3 a.m. a listen, because that was really when I realized just how tragic the song truly is, because it doesn't have that pop like glazing that makes it better. And really just the big one is the fact that like the clock on the wall has been stuck at 3 for days and days. So she just thinks it's 3 a.m. because she doesn't know any better. And it's like, that's weirdly tragic.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a AIDS song, cancer song.
Based on the music video, yeah. Because the guy's got a catheter in his chest and the cigarettes and everything. Like, it looks like he has, like, some sort of, like, lung cancer or something.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's, you know, like, another famous song in the same vein, I always think of is the Mighty Mighty Bosstones there, Knock on Wood.
Knock on Wood
right?
is
like,
definitely an AIDS song.
And, like, right. Yeah. Like that's like this really poppy song that people use in like movie soundtracks to be like, oh man, like this is such a wonderful upbeat bit, and then you really like actually dig into what the lyrics are, and you're just like, what the fuck were we all dancing to in the 90s?
They've tried to like scrub that off the internet. The fact that it's like about going to get tested to see if you has AIDS, because someone you know has it. So like, there's a chance that I could have it too. But if I don't get tested, then I'll never know. Which also takes on a weird sort of second life in the post-COVID era. Because there was that big contingency of people that believed the only reason I have COVID is because I got tested for it. Otherwise,
we wouldn't have such large numbers if we didn't get tested, Devin.
Yeah, it's just but also digging through the background and the content of the song, it was about Rob Thomas as an adolescent having to live with a mother fighting to survive cancer. So definitely about that. And I guess like, so the woman who at 3 a.m. I must be lonely where the clock on the wall has been stuck at 3, and she's worried about the kid going out. You know, it's going to be cold outside. Here's a raincoat. Like, it's a mother who is sick and like still trying to care for her kid, but like what her world is like because she's dealing with this illness. Like, it really is this rather tragic song. And, you know, singing it last night, I'm having fun singing it and doing it, but then I'm at the back of my mind, I'm like, this song is just one of the most tragic things if you stop and think about it. So, yeah. So just like finally addressing that, because it was something that we had said we'd come back to eventually, much like Skype, which officially died. But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have to record a time capsule at some point. The topic of our next time capsule is going to be Skype and some other things, because I don't know if Skype could fill a full time capsule episode. But that's where we're going to really share our experience with it. You know, and it used to be a part of the show. So that'll be a fun time. But right now, on to happier things than Rob Thomas's, you know, sad adolescence and him finding success by sharing it with the world. Like, that's a nice kind of story, right? That he's able to take his trauma and turn it into success.
Well, I do believe, if I remember this correctly, whatever this was his mother was able to beat it, or at least it had a little bit of a happier ending.
Yeah, fighting to survive cancer. So she did survive it by all accounts that I'm able to find. But you know.
So it is definitely trauma that like you were bringing to it. But I mean, he's an artist. Like what the hell else do we make art for if not to work through
your trauma? Exactly. But you know, it's just.
But yeah.
it's just listening to songs and seeing them and the strange second lives that they can take on and everything. And yeah, like the other one, John Oliver just talked about Closing Time by Semisonic, and the fact that the band is like, the closing time is like satire about being born, right? It's closing time, time to get out of your mom and be a baby. And that's real. Like Semisonic has talked about, like, I was thinking about the fact that my child was going to be born soon, and how it's sort of like, what if the womb were like a bar? Like, oh, that's fun. So you're never going to hear Closing Time the same way ever again. I guarantee it. I think I think it's Dragon Time, right? Is there anything else that we want to make sure we touch on? I guess tariffs are like big and up there, and
well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that already, and we will probably talk about that again when it becomes like a specific thing. I mean, talking about it nebulously just scares people, and I don't want to be one of those. Like, there's a lot of people out there that are just talking about all this shit nebulously right now, and all it's doing is making everybody fucking anxious.
Right. I guess the thing that I do want to address about it, because you're right, let's do it. Let's focus in on it, is that May 9th, so this past Friday, a bunch of the toy retailers, and again, that's sort of where I'm seeing it through, because it is a luxury item, so it's this really thing, adjusted their prices to reflect the tariffs. Hasbro Pulse was down as they could update all of their pricing. A Marvel Legends figure, like a basic figure, is now $31.99 in order to do it. They were like $24.99 before. They had kind of like seen a little jump to $27.99 in the wake of it, and it's just, you know, and other stores are like, there's just a 8% surcharge as a tariff fee. And I'm just seeing a bunch of like misinformation being spread about it. And like, you talk about that nebulousness and someone's like, it's illegal for them to charge that cost as things that are in stock. And it's like, no, it's not illegal, because in capitalism, stores are able to raise their prices for any reason. It's nice that they're being transparent about it. And honestly, if they weren't being transparent about the fees, if they just called it a fee, then it might like approach illegal. But no, they're telling you that it's 8% so that we can offset the price of tariffs. And we're charging it on everything in the store, because eventually we're going to get hit with 145% tariffs, because most of these luxury items, these toys, and that's what they are, they truly are luxury items, they come from China, and they have some of the higher tariffs on it. But, you know, it's been an interesting microcosm to like look into, to see how the tariffs are affecting. Like, I haven't been affected by them. I've kind of curbed a lot of my collecting before this whole thing happened anyway. Though I did just get an incredible Gridman figure, or as we know him in America, Servo, from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. I love him. He's beautiful. He's on the desk with me right now. But like looking into the world and seeing how tariffs are affecting just that small part of it, it's less nebulous for me, because I do see how people are doing. It's making it real. And I
do think that there's like the larger, like, luxury items are in a place where, because of the price fluctuating and already, like, outside of tariffs, in the luxury market, toy collection market, things like that, like, price fluctuation is nothing new, and price jumps and exorbitant pricing is nothing new, and things like that. So there's a way for them to kind of just do this in a way that, say, a grocery store necessarily can't. It's not that we're not going to see prices go up in the grocery store eventually. It's just that it's going to be a little bit more of a creep, I think, until the day it isn't. But like I said, there's definitely going to be conversations to be had about this when we have some more solid stuff about what's going on with it. Right now, there's a lot of things happening that people are like blaming on tariffs, and then other people want to point out that some of those tariffs aren't even in place yet, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
but like empty ports, we're already seeing empty ports, and that scares the shit out of me. That's like a specific.
Oh yeah, that is a specific fear, because that trickles down. If their ports are empty, then the people who work at those ports aren't going to have jobs, and then how it goes, because it's not just the goods. It's the people moving the goods that is scary. But let's talk about happier things. Let's talk about dragons. Sejohn, I did not, and I apologize for this, finish Dragon Quest III. However, I did play a lot of Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons, because on Tuesday they released 2 new figures to the game. Abor, the Abobo character from Double Dragons 2, who kind of just looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jeff. Do you know who Jeff is?
Is he another Abobo brother?
No. He's another Lee brother, but he's not their brother. So you have Billy, Jimmy, and Sonny. Those are like official Lee brothers, though Sonny's like canosity is arguable because he was basically just invented for the 3rd game so that 3 people could play at the same time. But then Jeff is their friend who grew up with them, and if Billy is blue, Jimmy is red, Sonny is yellow, Jeff wears green.
Yeah, nice, excellent, perfect.
So, like that game, first of all, I was a little harsh on that game when it first released. When did that game come out? Can you look up when Double Dragon Gaiden released? I think it was 2022. So it's been a while since it came out. And like jumping in because they gave me a new reason to go back to the game. They had already added Sunny, Raizu, and Chinmei. Not Chinmei. Chinmei was already in the game. The other guys from Double Dragon 3 were added. So it was Sunny, Ranzhao, and the large Chinese guy who uses...
July of 2023, actually.
That game came out 2023? Time just doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm just going to be honest. But he uses like dragon claws. He like has Wolverine claws. They were added in December of last year. So now we have Jeff Nabore added. And it's just... the game has gotten a little bit better. I always kind of liked the idea of the game where it's sort of like a Mega Man Double Dragon and you get to choose from the 4 gang hideouts to start. And then as you go on, the gangs, once they see you're a threat, are fortifying their forces. So the first one you go to, it's just like a single stage and then you fight the gang leader. The second one, it's 2 stages and then you fight the gang leader. Third, 3 stages gang leader. And then the fourth, it is 3 areas. It's those same 3 areas that you'd fight, but the gang leader gets like a significant upgrade. Talking about like Machine Gun Willie, you fight him in a helicopter. And that's hard. It's hard as like a fighting guy to fight a helicopter. I mean, the Double Dragons do it, but it can't be easy on them. Right?
We're all just punching guys. There's no flying guys.
Yeah. Right? Do none of us fly? So yeah, it's the game feels good. And also, after kind of the litany of shitty beat 'em ups that I have played since Double Dragon Gaiden, jumping back into it and that being my dragon game for the week so that I could contribute to this conversation. The game is also, it's very fluid. I'm not sure how much of that is like just work that they've done to patch it to make it feel a little bit more fluid or things like that. But, you know, Jeff is very cool because he uses knives. Basically, he's a double dragon, but then he finishes all of his attacks with a knife. And he has a knife all the time. And Abore, he's just like a Bobo, but he's a little bit faster, and he can electrocute because he's technically a cyborg, which is fun. It's a good time. But playing the game, I was reminded of it, right? It was not Power Rangers Rita Rewind, and it was certainly no G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra, in which I just felt like I was sold a bill of goods on both of those games. Power Rangers definitely better now, but I can't talk about Cobra. Sorry.
So I'm understanding that they added online multiplayer to it. How's that working?
I have not played online multiplayer with anybody. I have only played the game multiplayer one time. So I should put some time into it, try it out, because it's a good game now. Like, it does feel like a much better game. I got the platinum on it. It's only 20 trophies on PlayStation, but like, I felt like I earned it because a lot of them are like, just keep playing the game. And it does, and that is really where I do want to celebrate Double Dragon Gaiden, is the fact that it understands that a good beat 'em up is something that you want to play 1,000 times. Because all of these games, like River City Girls 2, right? My favorite punching bag, pun intended, I think. It's just too fucking long. The game just goes on and on and on. And so you get to the point where, like, this is the logical stop point for this game as a beat 'em up. And then there's like 4 more missions that you need to do. So it just feels like, like, it just feels not good. Double Dragon Gaiden, playing through the game, is always 5 basic levels. Their length changes a little bit.
Such a weird artifact
Yeah.
of the argument, like, this is the arcade experience at home. What can we do to make the at-home version worth that time, right? And it's like, well, we can add more shit to it. What does that mean? More characters, more levels, more, But to your point, like, no, part of why I'm buying into this is because I want the arcade experience at home. And so I don't necessarily want to be spending 10 hours when it should only be a 5-hour game, that kind of thing.
Yeah, honestly, any beat 'em up game, once you're over like 2 hours in length, even an hour in, because I think about when the X-Men game released on PlayStation 3, and everybody was like pretty amped up for it, and then they're like, oh, it's so repetitive, it's so easy when you don't have to put quarters in, and it's like, yeah, but that's part of what a beat 'em up game was in the arcade. Because you played it, you got better at it. Like,
yeah, I remember that being one of the big things with the Simpsons release that they did too. The Simpsons arcade game was people talking about how once you removed the financial kind of stick from it, right? Like that, like carrot and stick situation. Once you kind of removed the price of admission, it kind of lost a little bit of oomph in some way, which I understand. But for the concept of preservation and for the concept of there's a level of me that says that wants to agree with that argument, because now that you're at home and it's kind of lost its need. It's the same thing with save states on like emulators, right? Mm-hmm. You've lost a little bit of the edge that this certain game might have had, right?
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways you're not experiencing it. It's one more level removed from you experiencing it the way that you remember, right? And like our nostalgia hates that. Like it's just one more knock against our nostalgia that we can't ever truly go home again.
Yeah. I was also thinking about that from the other side of it, in the fact that our generation of gamers, we're in that weirdly unique moment where, because of arcades, right, where we would go to arcades, you pay your quarter. If you don't connect to that game, you never play that game again. And then at the home market, you might get a game that sucks, but I only have Ninja Turtles for NES. So if I want to play video games, that's what I have to play. We have this really hyper developed ability to walk away from a game that we don't care about because of the cost of admission if it's low enough, but also weirdly feel stuck with a game because of the cost of admission once it gets high enough. And that kind of like G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra, right? I will never play through that game again. And that's because they've said that they fixed it, and I'm like, I tried going back and I'm like, no, this game's just bad. It's not a good game. I don't want to waste my time on it. And that game was $20. Had I paid a little bit more for it, I might feel differently. I went back to Power Rangers because at its core, it was a solid-ish game. It was definitely better than Wrath of Cobra. And then when they fixed it and made it a Power Rangers revenge fantasy, it became fun. I'm not gonna lie. Being on
I think we kind of just backdoored our way into the sunk cost fallacy. But this idea is like, once you start putting in monetary value on something, it is a system in which we can start to calculate value, right? Because otherwise, things have value outside of monetary, but it's hard to actually calculate it. It's hard to actually visualize it. But the second you start using money, you have an actual system that you can say, well, okay, if this thing generates $3 worth of value, then this thing that at $60 better be 20 times better, right?
Right. I don't know. I guess. And with beat 'em ups, I want to play them a bunch of times. And Double Dragon Gaiden is a game that makes you want to do that. They have found the perfect gameplay loop by the fact that this time start with the Triangle Gang, and then you'll have to end with the Okada Gang. Next time start with the Okada Gang and go through and end with Triangle. And you get to see how the levels change and get harder. I mean, the Okada stage, I should play through it again now that I'm have the game installed and I'm playing it a bit. But the Okada stage, I always start with it. The one time, because there was a reward for beating it as the final stage before you go to the town hall for the final confrontation. It's just toxic like platforming and too thin areas to fight, and like if you fall off the edge you lose so much health. Like it's just not fun playing that way. So like that game, that has become my de facto starting level, because I just want to go and fight them. I do not want to see what the other two stages are ever again, and I should see with all the changes if that somehow became better. Now tell me about Veilguard, Sejohn, because you were initially very excited about it. You didn't seem to understand where some of the negativity towards the game was coming from. And last week, it felt like there may have been a change in you. I don't know if you've been changed for the better, but have you been changed for good?
So, like, the big thing that I want to really kind of focus on is that, like, this game received a lot of undeserved, like, hate, right? It is a hot button game of this year, right? It is one of the games that a lot of gamers with a capital G, Gamergate, like Dude Bros, really leaned into as evidence of the video game industry succumbing to DEI practices and all sorts of weird arguments that we have always argued against, right? Like, and so with that, it caught a lot of heat up front for all sorts of weird random things, mostly character creator choices that were given to you, which is always the place where this starts, because it is literally the first 5 minutes of the game, and it's one of the few places where you have specific language about like gender and things like that, like in the game. So there was a lot of stuff that was thrown at it that was just completely like undue, right? And that's kind of the story of what happened with Veilguard, is that it got buried in a bunch of negative reviews before it even came out, and then when it did come out, the game unfortunately was not good enough to overcome those, right? It's not that the game wasn't good, it just wasn't good enough to dig itself out of the hole it was already in because of a bunch of bullshit that had come out before it, right? And that seems to be the case with just so many AAA games nowadays, is that like they get buried, and so a game has to be a blockbuster, it has to be a knockout film, just so that it can get over that initial negativity, and that sucks. Like the fact that every game is coming in at like already in the hole is a miserable experience, and I can only imagine what it's like for developers. I'm saying this as a fan, like, right? Like for somebody out there making a video game, I fucking applaud you right now for dealing with whatever comes your way in that regard, because like it is just not easy, right? And so I jumped into Veilguard because it was free. Like it kind of hit a point where less than 2 months after it had come out, or 3 months after it had come out,
So,
it was suddenly free on PlayStation.
do you want to know something kind of fun? Like this episode became like an accidental, beautiful thematic moment. The game initially released 14 days after Brothers. It came out October 31st, 2024, and then I think it was a February free game on PlayStation Plus, right?
So 5 or 6 months into its life. But yeah, big old AAA game, Dragon Age. Dragon Age Inquisition was definitely a pretty big game. Dragon Age Origins, I think, is probably the most successful game of the franchise, between not just financially but also critically and vice versa, right? I think that there's just a lot of nostalgia for that one in particular that I think people really kind of have held every other game since up to, and things like that. And I don't know, it was such a weird game, a weird circumstance to come into a game, because it was a game that I was interested in playing. I played Dragon Age Inquisition, and on and off, and I never quite finished it, but I really loved what was going on in that game. I was not really big into that type of game, but Inquisition really dragged me along. And then Inquisition ended up having a bunch of DLC, ended up getting a bunch of like sales and free times and things like that. So I ended up playing that game quite a bit. So when Veilguard was announced, I was super interested, and then it got a bunch of hate, and I hate that. So like I kind of stepped back a little bit just to wait and see what was going to go on with the game itself. And then when the game didn't really seem to overcome that shit, I just never went to it. So here it is, free in front of me, and I've got this weird relationship with the game already, and I kicked it off, and for like the first like 2 hours of that game, I'm just like, I just wasn't getting it. I was just like, I'm creating these characters, I'm playing these with these characters that I love, side characters that I love from all these other games that have come before, and then like on top of that, the story is really interesting. Basically, the elf. So spoilers for Dragon Age Inquisition. The end of that game is the reveal that somebody that's been a companion of yours from the beginning is actually the villain and is actually like an elven god.
Oh damn.
But because you've been companions with them the whole time, the basically canon ending is that they come around and they are, you can't really stop them because they're an elven god anyway, but like you can put a stop to what they're doing in that moment, and they kind of just become another force in the world, kind of like a Sauron or a Gandalf, to like go off and like just be this god that now exists on Earth, which happens a lot in the Dragon Age series, to be fair. So
I
this
would argue
game
it
kicks
happens
off.
a lot in real world too, but you know.
What kicks off in this game is he's up to his old tricks again, and something's going on, and like world-ending events are suddenly happening again, and he seems to be at the middle of it. So you team up with one of the guys from Dragon Age Inquisition to go and see what he's up to figure out what the hell is going on. And you get there, and he looks like he's releasing these like evil essentially elven titans into the world, but you find out pretty quickly because you stop him, but then you realize what he was doing was actually trying to trap them, and so now you need to go out and go after these super uber gods that have been released by accident because you stopped this guy in his ritual, right? But all of this is based on these characters from this last game and stuff, so it's all really interesting, like really cool shit going on. But then slowly what started to really grate on me and never got better, and this is where I think the real criticism needs to begin, is that like so much of the dialogue and so much of the story is really saccharine and positive, like overly positive, in such a kind of annoying way, right? I'm trying to think of how to say this and not sound like a grumpy old man, because I don't want, because there were plenty of people that already took that attitude of this game. But like there's a lot of moments where it's like, all right, team, hands in, like Dragon Age, go, like that kind of shit. Like there's a lot of dialogue that is just not very deep, and it's like, as long as we've got each other, I think we'll be okay. And it's like, okay, all right. Like Baldur's Gate being the other big one that came out in this around the same time, that was another big RPG, fantasy RPG. The ways in which Baldur's Gate uses dialogue, and like things can go completely negative, right? Like things can get dark in that game. There's an entire way you can play that game in which you are just a like vicious murderer, and like the end of that, and the one of the endings of Baldur's Gate is you can actually like sneak into your team's like encampment at the end of the night and just slaughter everybody.
Oh, that's
like
fun.
that is one of the endings of Baldur's Gate. It's crazy. It's fucking nuts. But Dragon Age would not dare, right? And the reason that this is a problem is this is BioWare. This is the same group that supposedly, not the exact same group. I don't want to act like it's the same people still working there, but this is the same company that really dropped the ball on Mass Effect, right? And having that kind of forced like God ending, like God is good ending, right? Where you need to come in and you either need to destroy everything or save everything, and those are really your only two options. And it's just like, but I just spent this whole game talking about how the things are like living and exist in gray areas. So the fact that my only two options now are black or white seems really kind of like you've cut the story's legs out from under it, right? And this is making no qualms about the fact that like there is definitely a wrong way and there is definitely a right way, and we are going to do the right way no matter how wrong you want to be. Because I've tried playing the game now 3 or 4 times. I've restarted the game and like tried to pick negative options, but it's not negative. It's more what it is you get to be kind of just Han Solo versus Luke Skywalker. That's the big difference. Am I snarky and a good guy, or am I genuine and a good guy? That's really it. And it's like, okay, so there's not much depth in the conversation stuff. The actual dialogue is a little grating. And then on top of all of that, like there's a system in place for you to really get deep into the RPG elements of the game. You can pull up like a character customization as you're creating your character, where you can go like just super deep into like, oh yeah, this person was a peasant when they were growing up, and they joined this very specific faction when they were a peasant, but now that they've grown up, they're no longer part of it. But that means that they'll have boons with that particular faction, or like you could say they were part of the Inquisition from this and all that. Like there's some really deep mechanics you can manipulate, but the game doesn't make you. It makes you pick certain things for your background, but you could spend 20 minutes in the character creator, or you could spend like 10 hours in the character creator, and and the game doesn't ever invite you to do the latter. It really pushes you through like the fast lane on that stuff to get you into the game, but without messing with that other stuff, there's really no difference in the game. Like you really, and if you're not familiar enough with the world of Dragon Age, it doesn't it doesn't help you in any way, right? So the game has the ability to be deeper, but doesn't seem to want to be. And even when if it does go deeper, like I said, the dialogue options don't really even kind of matter. Like it doesn't support how deep it goes. So the game just has a real structural problem as an RPG, and the writing really does have some real glaring issues, right? So those are like two big criticisms that I feel about it that I definitely heard when the game first came out, but it got so lost in the mud of everything else that the game was catching shit for. Oh, the fact I can make my character non-binary, or the fact that I can make my character a male form but still have a female voice, or like the hairstyles. That was the other thing, is like people just picking on just hairstyles that were available in the game. It's just like, get over it. Like some people just want to have goofy ass hair in these games. Just leave people alone.
Yeah,
Like
for
that
a lot
stuff
of people,
I don't
it's just
understand.
fun. It's just a way of having fun with the character creator. How much do you think the issue is that this was originally going to be a live service game, that then after Fallen Order it got broken back down to the bones and rebuilt up? Because it sounds like a shallow experience. Everything that you just described makes it feel shallow, and that, to me, and again, this is my opinion here, is kind of the hallmark of the live service experience, is the fact that we've given you enough structure to invite you into this world. Like the idea of characters that you already know from Dragon Age. This guy, he's summoning these titans, but he was actually the Ghostbuster sent in to capture them and clear the house. Like, and now you have to deal with these elven titans. Like, in terms of that being like the inciting action in a live service game, and then like you're teaming up with random people to go on raids where ultimately you're going to fight one of these titans, it seems like really good basic skeletal structure for something like that. But then when it becomes a single player experience, there's just not enough meat on those bones.
Yeah, it's funny that you put it that way, because if I had to compare it to something, it really felt like playing the single player experience in like a Destiny.
Yeah, that's
Where it
that's
really
what it
felt
sounded like. Yeah.
all this is doing is giving me worlds like plate setting, right, and giving me characters that like baddies that I know. Okay, with this particular one, I need to be able to break their guard in this way first before I do that. Like it's teaching you how to do that stuff, but then like it never goes much deeper than that, right? Like it's like, okay, guys with a blue bar, you need to make sure you use this kind of move against them first, so that you can then actually do the rest of this to them, and you build up your power so that you can release this. Man, it has got a lot of Destiny in it, so that you can release your special move and things like that. Like there is that actually really explains some of the choices of things. But to be fair, not the stuff that I'm really complaining about, like this in terms of the gameplay, right? I think gameplay wise, there is some really interesting stuff going on, and there's some really fun stuff going on. It has a little bit of a it's not full on Batman, because it's not like the same button three times and then like triangle to block, but
No
like
combos. Gotcha.
it tries to kind of go in that vein. Like it wants you to be putting together combos, a little bit of Devil May Cry. Like it wants you to be putting in some string of inputs in order to, and then if you like can knock people into the air, you can juggle them and stuff like that. So there's some fun stuff going on with the mechanics in terms of the combat and stuff. So like all of that is fun, and like I said, like the first couple of hours, like it feels really good, but the fact that after a while, like nobody is really, no, there's nobody being a negative Nancy. There's nobody there that's giving you, that's like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. There's nobody questioning this. There's no complex ways in which they're addressing what's going on. It all feels very much like you're setting up, no, you are the good guys. This is what you do. This is how you do it. The end. And if I could then team up with my friends and go on missions into the world of Dragon Age and represent the Veilguard as I go out there to close these breaches of the veil that are opening, because that's your big game loop, is that you're going into areas where like things have kind of started to seep through from the other side, and you're going into to close those up, right? And I could see how you would layer a live service on top of that, of like going in for various raids, bigger ones with bigger bosses, and like, small world events that could be happening here or there, popping off, and bounties that you can be collecting. It all makes sense. They introduced this mechanic of blocking off areas of the world where you can't, once you get into them, you can't leave until you destroy certain mechanisms, because you're in basically a magic bubble and that sort of thing. And so I could see how that would work if you were in a MMORPG style thing where you and your friends go into an area and then you destroy all of the machines so that you can free the area.
Destroy all the McRibs and now you can leave.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I can see those elements in it, but I think from a gameplay perspective, it didn't affect much. But I will say from a game development perspective, it seems like it really hit them hard, because it really did create for a very shallow single player experience. And that is, I think, going to be the story of that game. And because of that...
Well, that should be the story of the game. I think, unfortunately, the story of Veilguard is how it became such a beacon of DEI to a certain contingency of gamers on the internet. A certain contingency of voices on the internet will probably be the legacy. If the gameplay were better, I think it is, but then I think it becomes a footnote in the way that people reacted to it. Right? I think... Yeah,
it just sucks, because I would love to have some conversations about the idea of games as service and pivoting away from that and what that means, and I would love that to be the conversation. Instead, this conversation about like, well, they hired unqualified people. How do you know they're unqualified? Are we suddenly experts on people's resumes that we have never met or seen before? Like, it sucks.
Yeah, it does. I 100% agree that is one of the worst parts of the whole thing. Because, like, seeing that it was meant to be a live service game, and then hearing how you describe it, it does. It just feels like that. We've been playing a lot of Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, right? Have you done any of that alone, or do you just do it multiplayer with me?
I generally just do it with you.
Okay.
I mean...
So what we need to do is, I've been inviting you to my game. You need to start inviting me to your game, so that you can experience the story beats that are associated with that game. And it's been a while since I have experienced the story of that game. It's an interesting setup, Spirits Unleashed, in the fact that you're basically playing with people. It's an asynchronous multiplayer game, so 4 busters, 1 ghost, and 5 players per match. But there's also ways to play against the ghosts as a bot. And those are where it really shines. The ghost bounties that we tend to do when we play together, like we tried to catch the Scolari brothers yesterday, which we definitely had issues. There's no reason that the Scolari brothers weren't going into our traps. I don't know what was happening with the server yesterday. Looking at you, Epic Games. Looking at you. But if when you're playing it, like, every few missions that you complete, anytime that you win, like, it adds a check, and then after so many, you get a cutscene that sort of advances the story and the reason why the spirits have been unleashed and everything. And Tobin ends up being a character from the ghost side of it. It's all very interesting. And then with the first DLC, with both DLCs, just the DLC with Samhain. When they added Samhain, who was kind of like the main big bad from the real Ghostbusters show. He's the pumpkin-headed guy in the purple cloak. He got a secondary whole storyline of the fact that you've been given this item and you need to... It's how they introduced the ghost bounty system, and then at the end of that, it ties this game as connective tissue between the events of Afterlife and Frozen Empire. And then when Frozen Empire came out, the big bad from that was introduced as a villain. We caught him yesterday, Garaka. So it's this really interesting thing, but it is still like the cutscenes and the story just kind of feel so superfluous. But, like, someone put the time in to write them, right? And honestly, as somebody who loves the 2009 game, which, Ramis and Aykroyd said, this is canonically our third movie, and then it was erased from existence, I feel a little bad that this game may eventually be just erased from the canon as well. That people put the time in. But again, it is like, all right, so we need to go in there because we need to test this new feature to the Proton Pack. So you're given the new feature with the Proton Pack, you win 3 missions, and then you have a start. Okay, so now that's working. We're noticing a lot of activity going on in the city. We need to try to figure it out. And like that one, the focus will be on destroying artifacts and rifts and trying to understand that. And it tells a story, and it's, Ernie Hudson is a voice actor telling this story. And Dan Aykroyd is there, like, playing Ray and telling the story. So, like, it feels good, but at the same time, it feels so superfluous to the fact that, like, but the game is just go on mission, capture Ghost, come back to Firehouse, go on other mission. That's the game loop. And hearing what you talked about with Dragon Age Veilguard, it feels like that's kind of what the story for a single player experience is. So it just lends that more credence to it being a live service. Ditto something like Destiny, where like the single player is sort of to familiarize yourself with the different planets, but then the real meat of this game is signing on with other people and going on raids.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you played it. I have it because of PlayStation Plus. I don't know if I'll ever try it. I've never really been a big fan of those style games. Like, I was excited to hear that Elder Scrolls Oblivion got like a secret remaster re-release. And if I were ever going to say this is my Elder Scrolls, it would be Oblivion. I remember working at the video store when it came out, and a bunch of us rented copies and had like a mini LAN party. Even though you couldn't play together, we all like just sat down with our systems and played the game together in a basement, and it was kind of fun. But like, it's not really my cup of tea, that type of like first person exploration. Is Dragon Age first person? Or is it third person?
No. Dragon Age is third person. Yeah, it's third person, and this one there's a lot less party management than there used to be, or at least in the earlier hours. It seems to be the case. One of the big things about Dragon Age over something like an Elder Scrolls is that you weren't just you were always out in a party of 3 to 4 people. So you're not just playing yourself, you're also managing the party of what's going on around you. A lot of the Final Fantasy remake battle system really kind of reminiscent of that kind of stuff, right? And so you can switch between the characters so that they can, you can make sure that they're geared up and all that sort of stuff. You can make sure you bring certain people with you with certain abilities and all that. But essentially, you used to be responsible for not just yourself, but other people in the group. This one really, that another place where it kind of streamlines it, and for good or for ill, is that it really is focused on you building your character specifically. But the other party member system is present. It's just not as deep as it seems it used to be.
Gotcha. All right, that's cool. Well, I'm glad that you kept at it, but I'm sorry that it went that way for you, my friend.
Look, I didn't pay for it. One of the things I get to say now, right, is that like it was just one of the ones that I did pay for it, and that I paid for PlayStation Plus. But I mean, I got Balatro this month, so I think that makes up for it.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? There's our final spinoff. If you're on PlayStation Plus, you have Balatro now for free. And it's a gateway game. Just play responsibly. That's all I want to make sure that people know. Don't lose yourself to Balatro. You will lose yourself to Balatro. Just like make sure you have
the benefit of it being on the computer. The benefit of being on your PlayStation is that unlike if you have like a Steam Deck or a Switch, can't put that shit down. Or if you're playing it on your phone, God bless you, man. You're gone. Can't save you. There's no saving you.
Yeah. But it's a good experience, and I'm happy that I got the PlayStation Plus release, but I am fearful for all of my friends who are now going to experience Balatro for the first time. Because it grabs a hold of you, and it doesn't let go until you pry it off of you. Yeah, so that's it. Anything else you want to make sure we put into this episode, Sejohn, or are you feeling good?
I know. I think that's the big stuff
Yeah, I
this
think
week.
that's pretty good stuff. I'm doing Adam Sandler trivia at a bar this coming week, so we'll have a recap on how that goes. Wish me luck, Sejohn.
All right.
I
All right.
certainly
Well,
hope
good
that
luck, man.
with everything, the people I'm going with are being a little hubristic, and I am very fearful of hubris. I learned that lesson in like 3rd grade, not to be too cocky. So we'll see. Hopefully, I'll have some good stories. It's not going to be like the Office trivia report. There'll be some actual tales about Adam Sandler trivia. I hope. We'll see. But other than that, an Adam Sandler episode also is releasing on Friday. It is the final in our Grains of Sandler season. We're looking at Dirty Work and Shakes the Clown. So if you have not checked out the Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe, a new episode drops this Friday, and that is available wherever podcasts are. Same place that you find the Say Report every Monday. We release one episode close to the 9th. We kind of adjusted it for this month, but around the 9th on a Friday, you're going to get your Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe fix. And that's coming to a close, and I'm starting to have some pretty heavy feelings about it. So don't be surprised if it bleeds a little bit into the Say Report as time goes by. But with all of that, thank you so much for joining us for this the episode. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Say Report. If you want to keep the conversation going, we do have a Discord, which you're more than free to join, and it's also free to join. You don't need to be a subscriber or anything. Just come by and join us. Invitations to our Discord server are available wherever we are on social media, which as of this recording is Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, or you could send an email to thesayreport@gmail.com, and we can facilitate you with an invitation that way, or we could just correspond via email, like it's 1998 and you just got your first Yahoo email account. Just send the emails to thesayreport@gmail.com. If it's specifically for me, Devin Decker, or him, Sejohn Sarowick, just put our name in the subject line. It will be distributed appropriately, and we'll talk to you there if you're afraid of Discord, which... A couple of years ago, I was just reminded of somebody like, hey, can someone call me on Skype? I need to see if it works. That was like a 5-year ago thing. And it's like, man, how fast the world changes in 5 years. Again, life, man. It's crazy. All right. So without that, again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next episode. And William, please bring us home. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host, Devin Decker and Sejohn Sarowick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.